Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.org.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
This is It's Movie Time.
It sure is. John.
Yes.
The last review we did had subtitles. I wish this one did. I caught probably a third of the dialogue because of their very thick Scottish brogues.
I know. This is T2 Transport. No, this is T2 Trainspotting.
Trainspotting.
Yeah, which is Danny Boyles. You remember him from Slumdog Millionaire?
Oh my goodness.
And the first Trainspotting.
First Trainspotting, one of my favorite films, a zombie film, 28 Days Later.
Oh, very good. I forgot that. Excellent, yeah.
He has, as he should with Slumdog Millionaire, he has a very meticulous visual style, but it looks so haphazard, so, kind of like everything dumped there, but the guy knows exactly what he's doing to get the particular emotional response or intellectual response.
Well, these four boys have been bad boys, headed by Ewan McGregor, and it's centered around heroin and cocaine.
Yes.
So I kind of think Boyle tries to emulate the craziness of these people and his camera, but you're right, he's a stylist.
Yes.
And when you put that together with these brogues, or whatever you call it,
it was hard to keep up with. And the one thing, because the first Trainspotting was 20-some years ago.
Right.
And of course, the movie takes place 20 years later. So
yes.
And it really is a sequel because it really takes off on a lot of, not only the themes, but some of the plot devices of the first one. The Ewan McGregor character, Mark Rutten, had stolen some of his buddies' money at the end of the first movie.
Right, it was a drug deal or something, right?
It was something.
He took. It was probably about 16,000 pounds or more.
Yeah, because they were all split into four ways.
Right.
Which of course has really been devalued since then compared to the U.S. dollar.
And doesn't he offer it to Spud?
Yes.
He offers the $4 grand to Spud.
I think, and he winds up giving Simon, who Johnny Lee Miller's character, who in the first movie had the appropriate nickname Sick Boy.
See, all right.
And gives him the $4 grand. But it's funny how you see how their lives have turned out. Mark, the Ewan McGregor character, is living, I think, in Amsterdam or somewhere.
That's right. He has family, a couple kids.
Yep. And Sick Boy, basically, or Simon, played by Johnny Lee Miller, runs a pub, and but also on the side business of blackmailing people, with very fetching. I think she played as Eastern European.
Pimps out his girlfriend.
Yeah, Veronica.
To these guys that he blackmails with videos.
It was my favorite character. Yeah, Veronica was. But then, the two really kind of out there characters. One, Begbie, but he had the nickname Franco or whatever, and he'd been in prison for 20 years.
Robert Carlyle.
Yes.
Unforgettable.
Very good, but also, to me, the most unforgettable character is Spud.
Yes.
Ewan Bremer or something like that.
That is correct.
And this guy, he looked like he'd be at home strumming a banjo.
I ran out of Deliverance.
Oh my!
Good one.
But what's interesting is it's 20 years later, and in some ways they all have some family relationships that they're working on. Spud even has a son from a girlfriend, and then of course Franco Begbie, when he escapes from prison, goes back to his wife, but also he's got a son who's about probably early 20s, who wants to go to college, and is a very clean-cut young man, which just really kind of throws Begbie for a loop.
Begbie is still violent. He is the most violent of them all, and a memorable character.
Does such a good job.
And Spud is still strung out on drugs, right?
Yes, but he becomes almost what you could think, but probably is going to be the most successful of the quartet of guys, because he writes
Yeah,
and he's writing away all this stuff that. This is the one thing, and why I thought the movie was very interesting. But geez, John, to try to keep everything straight,
yeah,
and how it built on a movie that I hadn't seen for 20 years.
yes, yes,
it was tough to do for me.
Yeah, and Spud is kind of a poet,
Yeah,
in his own way.
Yeah.
He's dense, but and your analogy with Deliverance is great because you think that kid can really play a banjo.
Yes.
And
almost a autistic savant type
Yes,
of character
yeah,
in
yeah.
a way.
yeah,
But I think the one thing too that I could not help but think about while I was watching the movie, when the first one came out 20 years ago, they were all fresh faces.
Yeah.
You really didn't know
Yeah.
them. Several of them are very recognizable. And Ewan McGregor.
he's great. He
all
looks
the
great.
roles,
He looks
yes.
20 years later. He still looks young.
And Robert Carlyle, and a couple of them, Robert Carlyle and Johnny Lee Miller in particular,
Yeah.
are both TV stars now.
Oh,
For several years,
All right.
Carlyle on an ABC series, Once Upon a Time, but particularly for me, I kept reading into Johnny Lee Miller's performance, and was really shadowed by his role as Sherlock Holmes in the CBS series Elementary. And I just couldn't get
Oh,
past
that's right,
that
yeah.
sometimes, because he does a very good, very strung out Sherlock Holmes.
well, after all the drugs 20 years ago, and still some of it lingering, after the wild time that they had then, and now into lives where I think you characterized it, where they're just really searching. Well, they're typical middle-aged men. They're in their 40s, and they're assessing life. And I think this goes beyond the craziness of Trainspotting into T2, whatever that means.
Yeah. I kept thinking of the Terminator.
You're right.
Yeah.
Or Take Two.
Well, it's, a review I was reading about the movie, because it didn't say why he picked T2, but at first he was going to call it Trainspotting 2.
Yeah.
But then for some reason,
Yeah. Well, but regardless, what I like about the film, after you get all over the craziness, and believe me, I'm still trying to put the film together,
yes,
is how well Boyle has depicted the aging process
yeah,
and the disappointments, and for most of their cases, the disappointments that life didn't turn their way
right,
after 20 years. And I think that's the most that I take away from it, is that this is fairly real for guys who frittered away some of their life
Yeah.
and their money, and now they're trying to make something out of their life. And I think you mentioned it, something about family life.
yes,
It's something,
yeah, some sort of meaning to their
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Because even in a way, three of them had families. I mean, true families and children, but Simon didn't. But he had a family with this Veronica,
yeah.
which is interesting because she kind of seals their money at the end, to go back to her son in Bulgaria, I believe
Yeah.
it is.
Well-
But one thing that really kind of intrigued me about the movie, and I kept thinking, I enjoy watching some of these films, like the last one we reviewed, Julieta, because I was finding out something about a way of life in another country that I didn't know about.
Yep.
Julieta was in Spain, this one, or France,
Yes.
or wherever. And this one was Edinburgh, Scotland. And really kind of, and of course, we both traveled a number of times over there to England and
Yeah.
Scotland, and really liked the
Yeah.
country. But it reminded me also, the first one 20 years ago and this one, that the British can do very well movies dealing with disenfranchised
Well, yeah.
young men.
And
I'm thinking
yeah.
some of the films in the 50s,
Yeah.
and the 60s, that they had, I think it was one, Angry Young Men, and there's another, Sporting Life with Richard Harris.
Oh,
It's kind
good
of like
ones, yeah.
some of these movies. Tom Courtney was
Well,
in a number
Look,
of them
we're
like that.
talking 1996, so it
Yeah.
must be post-Thatcher
Yeah, yeah.
and pre-Tony Blair. So there's some kind of a middle world, and the Brit pop, whatever they call it,
Yeah.
emphasis. So they caught it back in '96. They caught the spirit, the zeitgeist of that time,
Right.
in both Scotland and England. Now, of course, yeah, it resonates more because of Brexit.
Yes, yes, and what's going to happen. And now, one thing that they didn't bring up, not only that, but not to get too political about it, but the big movement in Scotland
Wow.
for independence.
Yes,
You know, to split
it's
away.
coming back up again with the new Brexit vote.
Yes, yeah.
Scotland is good. They're going to be bad boys again.
Yeah, because they want to stay in
Yeah.
the EU.
Well, anyway, I'm with you too, and I
Yeah.
recently reviewed with Chris Kay the Keddy about the cats. And your point is exactly what I was thinking. What do I know about Istanbul?
Yeah.
But I'll tell you something. That film with those 100,000 cats, but they have only 7, made me maybe want to stop over at Istanbul. So it's again another culture.
Yes.
You know, and Chris and I were talking about it. You couldn't find a cat in Columbus to do,
No.
to do something like that. It got them all
Feral
over the place.
cats. Yes, yeah.
But here these are tame, beautiful cats taken care of. Anyway, yes, movies. That's what it's all about.
To transport you to sometimes another time, but particularly
Yes.
another place.
Well, this is Trainspotting,
Yes.
so not transporting. We're going to transpot
We're-
right now.
Oh, well said. Okay.
But we have an obligation here.
Yes,
All
we
right.
do. We have to give it.
T2, Trainspotting.
I'm gonna give it a B. Yeah, I'm not. I wasn't all that thrilled about it, but Boyle is a great filmmaker, and that's why to give it less than a B, I wouldn't feel good about it because the performances were spot on.
Yeah, oh yeah. I'm with you too, and I'll tell you, I give Boyle a lot of credit because it is almost impossible to make a film after you've made this first iconic film,
Yes.
Trainspotting. And
Yes.
so I think he did, and I very much like thematically the way the characters have progressed or regressed or however you want to look at it.
Yeah.
So I agree, it's not great. I agree, it's not great.
But what grade are you giving it? Did you give it? Tell us.
I'm afraid to tell you that I'm giving it a B.
Okay. Well,
Gee, I'd like it to be different, but I can't because that's exactly the grade I was going to fix it.
Well, with our little gang of friends who we've known each other for 35 years, as well as some of the other ones that are good friends of ours, and well, we have a soft spot in our heart for bad boys. And bad girls.
We do. And at this time of year, at the
Yeah.
dumping ground time of year, we'll take Trainspotting.
Yep. Yeah. Spot on.